What's going on, everybody? Joshua Cook, VYPE Coach's Corner, back for another week. Of course, Coach Rick LaFavers of those Richmond Panthers, Coach Brian Randle of the Randle Lions, and Coach LaFavers, we'll start with you. A big game on Saturday as y'all defeat Hightower over the weekend, big in that district standing. So it was kind of an interesting game, late in the game, trailing big, fight and claw y'all's ways back, use special teams to win it. Just talk about that one overall.
Just, again, two heavyweights getting after it, big rival game. And, anytime you're in those type of games, there's lots of emotions and a lot of big plays, big moments. And you just don't know when those are or what phase of the game. And, we couldn't – I think we only had 3 possessions the first half, only had the ball 15 minutes the entire game and 39 snaps. We just couldn't get off the field defensively. Hightower did a great job of just kind of nickeling down us a little bit. And so we just couldn't get any rhythm, 9-0 at halftime, still kind of in it. And then I think we had 10 penalties for 105 yards, which is, very uncharacteristic of us. And so that all kind of played a role in it. And all of a sudden, we get the ball to start third quarter and we go 3 and out or maybe got a first down, but basically about 4 or 5 plays and out. But penalties, illegal procedure, et cetera, and just you kind of get off schedule. And then before you know it, I think it's late in the third quarter, it's 17-0, and it's looking slim. You can tell we've been hit in the mouth a few times and we're wavering. But one thing we preach to our kids is just keep fighting and swinging and punching and keep your toes on the line. And after their touchdown to make it 17-0, we returned the kick, for a 100-yard touchdown, and now it's 17-7 or 17. I think we missed the extra point, but 17-6. Then we kick off. They muff the kickoff, sky kick, and we recover it. Very next play, we score with Jolly, and now it's 17-14. And we're right back in it. And then I think we hold them and to a field goal. We block the field goal, return it, and go up 18-17, and then we finally are able to score another one in the fourth quarter to make it 25-17. But, yeah, it was tell of two halves for sure, and just the importance of all 3 phases for our kids to see that. I think as coaches we always preach special teams and it's a third of the game, et cetera, but sometimes you take it for granted, and it definitely played out. And it'll be something we can, point to and say, I told you this is important. You never know which play is going to be the one.
And then for you, Coach Randle, play against Brian, fall a little short, had a lot of offense in the game, just came up a little short.
Yeah. Now, we had almost as many first downs as they had touches as well, but we just have to execute and not turn the ball over. And ultimately, that's what happened. We kind of went in there wide-eyed. It was their homecoming. It was a great atmosphere, like a great atmosphere. We're warming up. Their fan section was talking trash to our kids. Like it was a neat deal. It was a really neat deal, and I was happy the boys got to experience it. But once we started playing, we settled in and was fine. Like early on in the game, it was we drive the ball to the 2, then we snap the ball over Courtney's head, and it happens again. We drive the ball. We score a touchdown. Well, a kid jumped off sides, so then we end up trying to settle for a field goal, and we get backed up, and then you miss the field goal. So just little things like that. Little things like that. But I question some of the officiating, but I always do that. I'm not gonna. I mean, it's human error. There's a couple severely missed calls because I know we scored twice. One was called back, and the other they said that the kid didn't have both feet down. And I said, last time I thought this was high school football, and you don't have to have 2 down. And he's like, oh, no, Coach, he didn't have them down. They weren't down. And then I don't want to ride to Austin, so I leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
For both of you guys, it seems, it may just be me, but early in the season, officiating seems to be something that's there's a lot of teams who uncharacteristically don't make a lot of penalties that are making a lot of penalties. I'm thinking of like Katie Tompkins. Is there, Coach, you mentioned your game against Hightower. Is there a difference? Do you see a difference in officiating through the early part of the season, at least this year, especially with, I mean, when you look at the need for officials, and maybe where they're building some of these guys coming in and the training, and maybe it's not as experienced. Do you see anything with the officiating this part early in the season that maybe some teams are having to get adjusted to?
I don't know. I mean, the crews we've had are the same crews. There might be some of their people in the crews that are new, that just might have been elevated up from, little league or middle school games or sub-varsity games, and this is their first. I don't know that part, but I know the majority of the crews and the leader, the white hat, are all veterans and such. So that part hadn't played into it. But I mean, with Brian, there are some calls that just seem to happen at critical times, and I mean, even when we win, I've seen stuff, that if I was the other coach, I would be frustrated, and I'm transparent about that as well. But yeah, definitely in the 4 games we've had, I'd say 3 out of the 4, there's been a list of play numbers, that I have comments on, and some of them are crucial and critical and game changers, or definitely the momentum of the game, and that taking points off a board, or just getting a drive stalled, etc. But or giving the opponent a chance to extend the chains. But I get it when you miss a holding call or something backside, but I think for Brian and I think we probably speak for all coaches. It's the point of attack, just kind of things that seem obvious, that get missed sometimes. But I also know it is extremely, extremely hard.
Yeah.
Right? I get it. It is hard, and just like Brian and I get emails from parents and comments from parents about play calling and all that kind of stuff, and how do you not see that? And I get it, so it's relative. So we're the parent to the ref, so to say, so I get that it's not easy, but
it's a tough job.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a difficult job that they have, and we're talking high school football, so it's going to be a lot of human nature type things. And I'll tell my guys right now, because a lot of people don't want to necessarily officiate games. If you look and see what happened out, I guess was it in San Antonio where that kid ran out there? Was that in the Valley where the kid ran? And
yes, yeah, the linebacker.
Right. So they're under a ton of pressure, and I don't necessarily know how much money they get paid, but to be getting chased up and down the sideline by adults dropping, swearing at him and all that kind of stuff, it's tough. So I tell my guys all the time, like, hey, let's dial it down a notch, because we're not going to have any. We won't have any. Like, we're already fussing about the calls that they're making. And kind of, I guess Ricky might have just brought up the point about some of the younger level guys coming up. We're going to end up with a bunch of just green officials, and games are going to be called just kind of in a whim, I guess.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't think we should hoop and holler at them like we do as much. I know personally, as a younger coach, I will wear an official out. I'll be in the middle of the field. I mean, whatever. But as I've gotten older, I've learned it doesn't necessarily take all that. Now, you might see me every once in a while throw that hat or kick it or something like that, because I still think you have to fight for your kids. You have to fight for your kids, because, Rick, you can attest to this, depending on the storied program you're playing, and their the value of them, quote unquote, will determine on your calls. Like when I was at A-League Taylor, we didn't get a lot of calls when we played like a Katy, or if we played like Dickinson in the playoffs. We weren't going to get the same calls that a Snelson would get, but again, he's been doing it longer. And they're just historically, they've just got, I guess, more, I don't know the right word to use, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the crews that we have, I'll respect them all. We've communicated, and they've. The honest thing is, hey, we got that wrong. You're right on play 42. We didn't miss it. We'll work on it. And man, I respect that so much. And then there's times where, I swear is this, he caught the ball, blah blah, and then you get back and look at film, and the ball, touched the ground, and foot wasn't in or whatever, and I'll email them back and say, hey, you're right, I was wrong, and such. So I think it's definitely mutual respect. It's so hard. We're all under pressure to win and make calls and do things, and I love them to death, and I am hard on them. I definitely get animated with them, but I'm fighting for my kids and such, the intensity of the moment. But I know they don't deserve, about 90% of it either. So
yeah.
We're dialing it back. We're dialing it back over here. We're dialing it back.
Coach Randle, you guys are 2-2 now. You're going to your district opener against an undefeated Lake Creek team. How do you give your boys a message that the sense of urgency that kicks up a notch now that it's the real district season and it means something?
Just what you said. It's a brand new season. Everything from here on in matters. Like it matters. And like anything else, the kids – hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Turn that radio off. I apologize.
That's what happens when you're important. You got those walkie-talkies with the admin.
Look, I'll tell y'all a secret. When you turn the camera off, I'll tell you a secret on how to avoid that.
Okay.
But no, just getting them to understand and just locking in, man. And I hate to keep saying this, sound like a broken record because I say we're young, but if we would just execute, take care of the ball, and do like we're supposed to, we're having it's a totally different ball game. We're sitting here 4-0, and life is good. Life is good. So we have the talent. We have the talent. We're just young, and we have to execute. And one thing I tell the coaches, like if you make a play call and the kid drops the ball, hey, if he's open, then he ran the play right. That's coaching, right? Or we call the stunt, and the kid should hit. So we ran a Nancy this week, and backer comes clean, and we're thinking it should be a sack, right? Loss of 10. Well, their quarterback made a play. He makes a play, throws a touchdown pass. To me, that's coaching. All the kids are where they're supposed to be. The DB's there. Their kid just made a play. So as long as our kids are out there just hustling and they're there, 50-50 balls, we're gonna get 50% of them. We just have to be there. That's the biggest thing.
Coach LaFavers, you talked something interesting about going from playing like a high tower to Dulles. You run the triple option, and on a short week, can you give a little bit of insight to how your game plan defensively might alter drastically going from the Westlakes Dickinsons and all that to now you play a triple option, which you don't see a lot of these days?
Yeah, and really, I kind of misspoke. It's not triple option; it's more of a kind of wing tee-ish, but still
same concept, yeah.
Different.
Yeah, right.
I can tell you this: we didn't do the defense did not do 7-on-7 yesterday. Pass haul. While the offense went down and worked, the defense just continued working on run game, inside run game and stuff. So. Biggest thing is discipline, whether it's the option of the wing tee, which is what Coach Randle had alluded to a couple of weeks ago when they played West Columbia. Eye discipline and trusting, I'm on the right side and you're on the left side, and I'll make the plays that come to me. You make the plays that come to you. And I think where you get in trouble is the ball's going over away from you, and you want to go, make that play, and then all of a sudden they got a little spinner guy coming underneath and you don't see him and he's out to your side, so just kind of sitting and holding, and making sure that you're doing your job. This is my gap, this is my leverage, whatever it is. And it's all about eye discipline. So I'm going to get Coach Randle to come over and help us out since they
we gave up 30 points, Coach.
Well, maybe not.
I can tell you this, though. We ran by the kid with the ball 7 times. 7 times ran right by the kid with the ball. Should have been 7. He should have been the player of the week. He should have been VYPE's player of the week. Instead, he just watched that. Coach, I didn't know he had the ball. It's okay. In the 10th grade, what do you do?
It's hard. It's not easy.
So to answer your question, Dennis, yes, it changed a little bit, just a little more run emphasis defensively and discipline. think you're muted there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Well, it'd be good if I turned my microphone on today. Coach LaFavers, for you, you mentioned your team's down 17-0 late in the third quarter. Do you lean on your senior leaders at that point to kind of rally the group as far as like not down and out, like, hey, there's still time in this game? Like, because, I mean, there's a lot of times late in a game when you're down like that, I mean, it can kind of just fall apart sometimes where it's just, okay, this game's kind of over. Do you lean on your senior leaders at that point to kind of rally the troops and say, okay, let's go and fight and claw this back into this game?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was still the third quarter when we returned the touchdown, so it's not out by any means. But in the past, yes, there have been moments where you're down and you go to a couple of key leaders. Doesn't have to be seniors, but you go to some key leaders, just say, hey, I need you. Body language, all eyes are on you. I need you to toe the line and just keep punching, and people will follow you. So yes, to answer your question, I think you have to pull some key players, if you will, and just get them to focus on what their typical response. I got you, coach. Yes, sir. And they understand it, but that night I didn't have to do anything. We just the general keep fighting, punching. I mean, it's still 3 scores. It's not bleak.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over. So what I've emphasized to him is, and I think Coach Randle, he probably has said this or heard this many times, but in a game, there's always 5 or 6 plays that are going to determine the outcome of the game. The problem is you just don't know which 5 or 6 those are going to be. So it's critical that you play your butt off every play because you don't know when it's going to be the play. And, I'm sure our kickoff return broke the huddle and thought, hey, is this going to be the one, or are we just going to go out and go through the motions? And so just trying to emphasize every play, do your job. Every play, if we all do our job, we got a chance.
How do you, I guess going back to that a little bit and talk about leadership and stuff, because we always talk about leadership, especially in sports, and kind of a question for both of you. And I'll start with Coach Randle. You have a younger group over there. How do y'all go about developing leaders? Do you see something just naturally in guys at a young age, or how do you do that? How do you develop these guys into leaders that will lead your football team, and not only that, after high school, lead a business or lead into college or lead a family? Like, how do you build leaders at a young age?
We do it intentionally. We do 2 different things. One thing we do is positive affirmation, and it's like a meditation thing we do in the weight room. We turn the lights out before the games or whatnot, and because I'm a firm believer that we're all a product of the sum of our thoughts, right? And I'm a true believer in that, and I'm trying to get the kids to understand. And just kind of like what Coach said with 5 plays, like what 5 plays are going to be the plays that determine the outcome of the game. Well, in that process, we sit in there and just talk to them about being the guy, wanting to be the one to make the play. Like, imagine yourself, envision yourself making plays, making your family proud, making your mom proud, making your dad proud, making your siblings look up to you. Like, and we sit there and we just kind of hammer that over their head because again, like we talk about chasing squirrels, I got a squirrely bunch. So I have them lay down before we get on that bus, lay down to try to, and it's okay if they fall asleep. It's okay, because it's just positive affirmation, just going in there and hopefully, and I feel like I think it works. Well, as a matter of fact, I know it works because I got kids from 2016 that call me all the time and say, Coach, I still go find a dark spot and I can still hear you. It might sound corny, but they say they can still hear my voice in their head. But another thing we do is on, like, Mondays is the only time everybody's up on me. On Tuesdays, the kids are up on their coordinators. On Wednesdays, they're up on their position coaches. And on Thursdays, it's pure lead. So the coach picks a kid and he has to talk. Like, he has to talk. He has to give them a gem. He has to have something to say to that group of people. And like you said, Josh, you're going to have to, in this world, you're going to have to get up and talk in front of people. You're going to have to if you want to be successful, if you want a job, So that's the one thing that we do that forces it, that makes them stand up and makes them talk. And I asked a bunch of them to go be in performing arts. Honestly, I say y'all need to take speech classes and get in performing arts. That way you will not be afraid to talk in front of people. Because I'm still terrified of talking in front of people. I hate it. And I want them to be better than me, you know.
I like the head coach, coordinator, position coach, peer led. That's a good idea. I'm gonna have to steal that one.
It makes your coaches talk too.
Yeah.
You know, they'll sit in the back.
Well, I do the typical, everybody up on me, give my thoughts, then they'll go see their coordinators or position coach. But I do like the intention of leading up to the peer thing. I think it's good. But no, for us, Josh, I think you could be good leaders and bad leaders. So I think there are some natural ones, that kind of those alphas that just seem to have that magnetic personality and persona. The key is making sure it's in a positive way. So, we'll have some kids, through the years that you see it at an early age, like you mentioned, and the key is making sure that they're a good person and good leader, and not the negative distractions. So you start working on identifying that and just, working on character and integrity and things like that. And then, I do think you can build leaders, there's always the argument of, are leaders born or can they be made, et cetera. And, I think there are people that might not be in their nature, they're quiet, et cetera. But because of their position, I think they can learn how to lead. It might not be intrinsic to them or natural, but I think it's critical that certain players learn how to, and especially in certain moments, and such. And knowing that leading is not just talking, it's actions and there's different roles or kinds and styles of leading. You got to make sure it's all going in the same direction with the same message and such. And, you got your rah-rah guys, you got your guys that are quiet and don't do anything wrong, and they're always on time, et cetera, and working their butts off. And then when they do say something, it's like, oh, okay, so we try to foster that. And then, as far as, I guess, tangible things, we'll go through character development, 2 words with Steve Mackey and book studies and different things like that. I've done a captain's class, or a leadership council deal. You try to kind of like a pebble ripple effect where you take 10 or 12 kids and then you're trying to grow it that way. So there's tons of ways to skin a cat. Nothing's perfect. You're just trying to catch lightning in a bottle sometimes when it comes to leadership.
Well, definitely a bunch of great ideas from both Coach Randle and Coach LaFavers. I hope other coaches watch this and take notes and, learn from things. I think that's the thing at the end of the day, right? Coaches learn from coaches, right? I know coaching school is kind of part of it, is learning from different coaches. Because, how big has that been in y'all's development, just learning from other coaches? And I know y'all have your certain ways that you want to do things, but you're always learning at the end of the day of how to approach things in different situations, especially on how things change over the years.
For me, I can tell you right now, there's not one thing that I do outside of my own personality that I didn't copy or steal from, either the way as a player we did something, or the way I was coaching in college or being, coaching in high school. Or I hear an idea, like Coach Randle. It is all being copied. I promise you. And
it's all been done for.
Yeah.
It's all been done before. It's just our turn. I'll pick up the phone and I'll call people. Like I'll call Nelson over there in Dixon if I have a question about some things, or I'll reach out to Coach Carter over there in Katy, or I'll call Rick. I'll call whoever I need to. If I think that they've dealt with the same thing, a similar thing, that way I can make sure that I'm on the right path, that I'm not way over here on the wrong street. Like, hey, how did you handle this? And a lot of times I'm aligned with what they're doing, and my whole thing is pick up the phone, man. Like, you got somebody that's done it before, who's been doing it a long time at a high level, pick up the phone. Give them a call. I got no problem calling any of those guys. I'll call Kay. I'll call Gary. I'll call them all. You know.
I think too. My opinion is that that's what's the beauty of coaching and what makes it so fun is it's each year is a different chemistry, a different group. So what worked, 2 years ago, and you had that, you might have had a great leadership and great, and everything that you did was working, but in 2023, it ain't working with this group, and so I think there's no cookie cutter style. And so I think it's critical as coaches that you're constantly learning and trying to find out what makes this particular team and group click and what's going to, speak to them and get them motivated and head in the right direction. And sometimes you don't have to do anything, and not anything, but, minimal versus there's other times, you got to go through 10 books and put them through, 10 weeks of boot camp and such, and just to keep them on the straight and narrow. So I think that's what's fun is just kind of seeing the different personalities coming up, from ninth grade and through the different classes. I think teachers will tell you each year, boy, this class is really, good, or this class, is challenging or, a little immature or whatever. And I think, Brian, I don't know if you would agree or not, but I think that's in life in general, just the 2022 class, the 2023 class, whatever it is, can be just slightly different, and that can determine how you approach your leadership in that team.
We had a meeting this morning, and it was a very passionate meeting about I was trying to get my coaches to understand you've got to find a way to connect with the kids. Like, you've got to figure it out. You got to find a way, because like you just said, I mean, they're different. Like they're different, and they're going to be different every year. And as society changes, our jobs are going to look different, and it's going to change. So we just have to figure out the niche to get that kid to want to perform for you. And that's my biggest thing, is I always tell them, I say, they don't necessarily have to perform for me. I can be the mean old cuss. And that's okay, but they should want to run through a wall for you. And if you can't get that kind of relationship with your kids, I got to find somebody who can. Just as simple as that.
Well, some great stuff again from the coaches today. Coach Brian Randle of the Randle Lions and Coach Rick LaFavers of the Ridge Point Panthers. Coaches, appreciate the time as always here on Coach's Corner. Best of luck this week as y'all are back at it, and Coach Randle in the opening district and Coach LaFavers continuing district play. And we will see y'all back here next week. Appreciate all the insight, and hope a lot of coaches around the city of Houston and the state of Texas watch this and take some notes. Take some notes and get their numbers. I'm sure they'll talk to you a little bit more about it.